Jesus.
I literally have this $100 mic that I just broke the cord for on completely on accident, and it wasn't like it's whatever. So I'm using a Guitar Hero mic, and I hope that will be good enough. We're gonna make it work. So, how to do a marathon in the middle of a pandemic? Who's gonna watch this video? I don't know. Who the heck is my audience? I have no idea, but that's fine. So, if you are watching, and if you are like me, maybe in the middle of this, right when the pandemic started, there was a huge relief. Like, oh, okay, I get to relax a little bit. And I know that's kind of bad to say out loud. And maybe, yeah, okay, maybe it's a little insensitive. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, but like, I had an 80-mile Tour de Summerlin race that got canceled, and I had a half marathon at like Red Rock that I was supposed to do, but that got canceled too. And I went straight to the trail mix bags and started eating really bad, and I had a lot of bad habits. At least I was painting a lot. You guys probably remember that little phase, but besides that, like I got rollers for my bicycle, and my idea in my head was to like just do my rollers, basically just like indoor cycling and watch TV. And that only lasted for a day because it doesn't really go hand in hand, because like in my like cycling position, I'm literally like this watching TV. Like it doesn't work. So I just resorted to not watch TV. All my races got canceled, and I took a good look in myself in the mirror, and I was like, oh, my birthday is coming up. You see, before I turned 19, I did a 100-mile bike ride, the Century ride. And my goal was at least to do the 80-mile race, because a race is completely different than just casually like riding. Like I'm against the clock, and I'm against real people. So I'd want to have a good time. But like I said, that got canceled. So I kind of went aimlessly without a goal. And like I said, it was such a relief. But I looked at myself in the mirror when I saw that 2 months slipped by, like just straight out of my hands. Like, oh, you ate a bunch of bad food, you gained a bunch of weight, and now you have cool paintings, but they're not that cool. So what are you going to do, Johnny? And I look at myself in the mirror, and I was like, I have all the excuses. I have all the excuses. Oh. But am I that kind of guy? You know what I mean? Like when I have the excuses, does that mean I get to lay in my bed and chill? I mean, that's probably what I should have done, but that's not what I should have done. Cut that out. Cut that out. I have a script, so I'm gonna just say the script because I can't. Alright. I took a good solid look at myself in the mirror, and I didn't quite like the reflection. Who was I? Someone who gave up and gave in when I had the perfect chance and opportunity, or someone that kills goals against all odds? I knew right there that I had to do a marathon. And so I started training really hard, and I was really excited. I got pumped up. Like every day I was doing 4 to 6 miles. I was going hard, and then the same month, like the first month I really started training, I was like, okay, let's do a half marathon. And I was running down a mountain, and I twisted my ankle. And I was in front of my girlfriend, so I was like, no, I'm fine. Like, it's okay. And it hurt. But I just kept going down the mountain because, like, I have to. And then I went to work, and at this time I was working, like, 5 days a week, and I'm a busboy. So I never let it really heal, but it was really bad. Like, it was, like really freaking swollen, and I was in a really negative mindset. You know, it was like, okay, like I have this marathon coming up, but I just have a swollen ankle, and I don't know why I did it. Looking back, I wouldn't have done this, but I still said no excuses. We're gonna do the half marathon because the marathon is gonna be worse. It's gonna be harder, and if I can do a half marathon in a completely negative mindset in a place where I'm always in pain against even more odds against a swollen ankle. If I can do a half marathon on a swollen ankle, then I can do a full marathon just fine. That was my mentality. And I did it. But in the very first mile, um, yeah, in the first mile, I took my very first left turn, the very first one. Like, it wasn't even a quarter mile yet, and I twisted my ankle again because I wasn't looking, and I was being an idiot, and I just felt like Superman again. But I was right back into the negative mindset. I was like, dude, I should just go home because I really just twisted my ankle again. It hurts like heck. And I took 4 steps. I recognized where I was in my mind, like really bad, like a very bad mindset. And I had no choice but to keep running because I wasn't going to turn back. No. I probably should have, but I didn't. And I finished it. But it's not like that didn't have consequences. And maybe this was a problem with my ego, or maybe this is me trying to form that own really harsh mentality in my mind, but that's up for you to decide. But when I look back, I mean, like, I am proud of myself that I did such a, like, I'm proud of myself that I did it, but I wouldn't do it again because I still feel it now. And it took such a toll on my body that I did not train as much as I wanted to. Like, I took so many days off. And so after taking all these days off, like, I would stay practicing the mentality. Like, I would keep reading a bunch of books. I mean, I kept painting. I stayed busy, you know, because I didn't want to just get comfortable. But I wasn't physically ready. So I only had like a few weeks to train for the marathon, like maybe 2. And so I was like, okay, it's going to be hot. Obviously, I'm in Las Vegas. We're in a desert. It's over 100 degrees. And now that my ankle's somewhat healed because I kept doing yoga. Yoga helped a lot. I was like, how can I maximize my training? And I got this bag. I filled it up with like 3 liters of water, and then I put water back here too. So it was pretty heavy, and I would go like midday to like 2, right when like the sun is at the hottest, so I could train in like the worst conditions. And like I'm super thankful that I did that because I got really used to the heat and to the mentality to figure out like how hard it's going to be. So I still went to work, never called a day off. And on the day of the marathon, the day before, I had work. So I came home around 10:30, like showered and everything, and then got to bed at 11. But I really couldn't sleep because I was pretty nervous. I was really excited, you know what I mean? And because I didn't know if I could do it. I mean, in my mind, I was telling myself, yeah, but it was going to take like everything out of me. So I really didn't sleep much. And I woke up at 3 in the morning, went to the park. I was the first person there, running around in the dark like a madman. And the first 6 miles was basically me just being in the back of my head, being comfortable and enjoying running. Just enjoy this first 6 miles because the hours ahead is going to be so brutal. So reinforce that comfort spot in my head. But I had one obstacle that I did not account for, and I really should have, because my shoes. I my shoes were so worn out, and I didn't buy new shoes because I was like, I mean, we're in a recession. Well, I don't need shoes. That's such a bad idea. Don't ever do that. If you're doing a marathon, you need to get to your appropriate gear. I could probably show you later on if anybody does want to see it, but I had like no tread, and I don't know. I never really had this issue before, but when I was running, like my toes were like so cramped together. I don't know why they were so cramped out of a sudden. Maybe my foot grew a little bit, but I don't know. It was just like my toes were like caving in on each other, and I felt it during the first 6 miles. But I was like, okay, whatever. We're just gonna keep going, even no matter how hard it is on my feet, and it was really hard on my feet. But I kind of put that on the back of my head, and I didn't really think about it. And so hours go by, and I would see all these people. I would see all the early birds coming right when the sun's up, and I was like, why don't I do this? This is so cool. Just watching the sunrise in the park with a bunch of early birds, and then I would see the waves of people go by, and then there was some sort of pride to it, where I was the first person in the park, and then after a while I became the last because it was getting so hot. And this was one obstacle that I did account for in my mind. I accounted for the heat, the sun, but I didn't think that the next few days, or maybe even now, I'll check later, that I would be waking up from my bed with like just shedding from all the skin. Like I had shed so much skin. It was so weird, like from my shoulders and stuff. But I mean, that was fun and all. Not really. I wear a long sleeve. I was running like without a shirt because I usually wear long sleeves, but I wanted to be as weightless as possible because it was hard, obviously. In the last 6 miles, that's when I really was like, okay, this is where I shine. I will jog the first 20 miles and act like it's like a warm up, because I've seen a lot of like, I did a little research. I did a little research, and I saw that like a lot of people would say the race really starts after 20 miles. So I stuck that into my head, and the first 3 miles was great. I was running at a really good pace. Everything was doing really well, but out of a sudden, like, I just stopped running. And I didn't know why at first. And it took until after the marathon when I took my shoes off and I realized why, but it gives me like almost chills to think about right now. But every time I would run, I would try so hard, but my mind would just resist and be like, stop. And the way that I stopped was I started weeping. Like I was like crying. Like I wasn't actually crying, like I was sucking my tears, but I was like my face screamed pain. And I didn't know why, because I wasn't exactly tired. I was feeling pretty good and pretty solid. I felt like I could have ran the last 3, but I didn't know why my body didn't allow me. And so I would keep trying, and it was this vicious cycle of me constantly trying to jog and then weeping, and then jog and then weeping, and jog and then weeping, and then me in this mind being like, why can't I run? And I was getting really like I was in a negative mindset again. My comfort place in my head was completely robbed from me. And so the last 3 miles felt like a complete eternity because I had to walk the last 3. And so that passed by. And in the last half mile, I saw my dad at the park, and he was waiting for me. And he was like, how much you got left? And I was like, I got a half a mile. He's like, oh, wow, that was pretty good. I thought you would spend another few hours or so. But I was doing a good pace. If it wasn't for those last 3 miles, if I had better shoes, man, I would have had a better time. But that's okay. When I saw my dad, I was like, we gotta finish strong. So I started jogging again like an idiot, and then started weeping and sucked up my tears in front of my dad. He didn't really notice, thankfully, because I was wearing glasses, but I was in a world of pain that I didn't understand at all. Like, I did not take my toes for accounted for, and I didn't feel them. And it took until after the marathon for me to realize what was going on in my head and going on through my body. Like, I just wear right shoes. Wear the proper shoes. Because after so many miles, your feet are going to get so messed up. And I'm going to have another video if you want to look into on my new running gear. I'm so happy with my new running gear. It's so sick. So sick. But that's for another time. So I'm just going to read the script a little bit. The same vicious cycle came to greet me, and so I sucked up my tears in front of my dad and walked until I finally made it. 26.2 miles. I didn't have the training. I didn't have a support crew. I didn't have a 20-mile test to see if I'm able to do it, like other runners suggested and talked to me about. The most I've ever done was 13 miles. I didn't have enough sleep, the right shoes, the right weather conditions, but I had one thing. I had the mentality. I really want to keep creating more videos because I think this is kind of fun. And more lighthearted ones, because I don't think everything is about suffering necessarily, but life isn't only about suffering, but it's about being uncomfortable. And making this video is very, very uncomfortable. Like I said, my mic broke. I didn't like the lighting. It took so many times, so many tries, but here I am. I'm doing it. Because marathon mentality isn't just marathons. It's reading, it's studying, it's day to day, it's the morning, it's night routines, it's the eating habits, it's that I still need to get down because But thank you for watching. I'm going to make more videos. I'll probably promote this one because I don't really promote a lot of videos that I make or even take them out, but I do enjoy doing this. So one thing I do want to say and mention is that just because you do one marathon doesn't mean that you're done. Just because you do one hard thing doesn't mean you should be satisfied. Just because you go to the gym one time doesn't mean you should pat yourself on the back. Mediocrity should not be rewarded. Keep going after it, guys. And if you seen my IG, I do talk about like being loving and everything, but be vicious too with yourself. Extremely self-critical. Because you are powerful. And this is how you do it. This is my story on how I did a marathon during a pandemic, and anybody can too. We all are going to experience struggles, especially when you're doing it alone, especially when you just slap a date somewhere and be like, okay, now I have to do it at this date. There's going to be so many obstacles and so many times where you need to turn around, and honestly, just quitting is going to be easier. But we don't do it because it's easy. Thank you. Man, I sucked because my first video I felt like was so much more funny, and it's okay. I'm gonna get better. I know I will. I need to get more comfortable in front of a camera, and thanks for watching my first step, guys.